The Broken Orbit. A sci-fi story. Fire in the sky. The sky was falling again. Not metaphorically, literally. A streak of incandescent metal tore across the cloudless dawn, shedding sparks like a dying comet. The shockwave hit the launch bunker a heartbeat later, rattling the reinforced walls and sending dust drifting from the ceiling. Impact cluster, northeast quadrant, muttered Lyra Vance, her voice steady despite the tremor that followed. She didn't look up from the cracked console. That's the third one this hour. Another boom rolled across the underground complex, deeper this time, like the Earth itself groaning under the weight of its own broken orbit. Across the room, Jalen Rourke tightened the straps on his pressure suit. Debris densities rising. If we don't launch now, we're not launching at all. Lyra snorted. If we launch now, we're flying into a planetary blender. Better than waiting down here to suffocate. She didn't argue. The air recyclers had been coughing for weeks. The filters were nearly spent. The geothermal pumps were failing. Humanity's last refuges, these scattered underground warrens, were dying one by one. And above them, the sky was a storm of knives. A Kessler cascade had shattered the orbital infrastructure decades ago, turning satellites, stations, and megastructures into a perpetual hail of lethal fragments. Every year the debris thickened, decayed, and fell, shredding the atmosphere with streaks of fire. But now there was a rumor, a whisper, a sensor anomaly, a gap, a thinning in the debris field, a narrow corridor of relative calm, a window, a chance. And at the end of that corridor, drifting in a decaying orbit, was Echo 7, an old orbital station long abandoned, rumored to house a functioning terraforming module, a relic from the era before the sky broke. If they could reach it, humanity might have a future. If Lyra shut down the console with a decisive flick. Fine. Let's go die in the sky. Jalen managed a thin smile. That's the spirit. The last launch. The launch chamber was a cavern of rusted steel and flickering lights. The shuttle, the Sparrow, sat in the center like a wounded bird, its hull patched with mismatched plates, its thrusters cannibalized from mining rigs and atmospheric skimmers. It was not built for space. It was barely built for air. But it was all they had. The rest of the engineering team was already there. Mirasol, propulsion specialist, face smeared with grease. Tarek Home, systems engineer, carrying a crate of jury-rigged power cells. Dr. Senka Aline, mission lead, pale and exhausted but unshakably focused. Senka looked up as Lyra and Jalen entered. We're out of time. The gap is narrowing. How narrow? Lyra asked. 2 hours ago, it was 14 kilometers wide. Now it's 8. Jalen winced. That's not ideal. It's suicidal, Mira muttered. Senka ignored them. We launch in 6 minutes. Lyra blinked. 6? We haven't even run the final diagnostics. No time. The debris density is spiking. If we wait, we lose the window. Tarek dropped his crate with a thud. Then let's move. They scattered, each falling into their practiced roles. Lyra climbed into the Sparrow's cockpit, fingers flying across the controls. The screens flickered, some dead, some alive, some showing static. She coaxed them into cooperation with the gentle authority of someone who had spent her life arguing with dying machines. Behind her, Jalen strapped into the co-pilot seat. Navigation's green. Well, greenish. Define greenish. It won't kill us immediately. Comforting. Another tremor shook the bunker. Dust rained down. Somewhere deep in the complex, alarms wailed. Senka's voice crackled over the intercom. All hands, strap in. Launch sequence initiating. The Sparrow's engines hummed to life, vibrating through the hull. The launch doors above them began to grind open, revealing a sliver of the sky, dark, bruised, streaked with fire. Lyra swallowed hard. The world above was a graveyard, and they were about to fly into it. Ascent. The Sparrow shot upward like a bullet. The acceleration slammed Lyra into her seat, stealing her breath. The launch tunnel blurred past, then vanished as they burst into the open air. The sky greeted them with chaos. Streaks of burning metal crisscrossed the heavens. Shattered solar panels tumbled like glittering knives. A twisted hunk of satellite hull screamed past, missing them by meters. "Angle 3 degrees starboard," Jalen shouted. "I see it." Lyra jerked the controls. The Sparrow rolled, narrowly avoiding a cluster of tumbling debris. Myra's voice crackled over comms. "Engine temperature rising. Compensating. Compensating. Damn it. Hold it together," Senka said. "We only need 10 more minutes." 10 minutes is a lifetime up here. Another shockwave hit them as a fragment exploded in the upper atmosphere. The Sparrow shuddered violently. Tarek cursed. "We lost sensor array B. Switching to manual tracking," Jalen said. Lyra's knuckles whitened on the controls. Sweat stung her eyes. The Sparrow bucked and rattled like it was trying to tear itself apart. But they climbed. Higher. Faster. Through the storm. Through the fire. Through the broken orbit of a dying world. At 40 kilometers, the turbulence eased. The sky darkened. The stars emerged. Cold, distant, indifferent. And ahead of them, framed against the void, was Echo 7. A skeletal ring of metal. Dark, silent, half-shattered, but still there, still waiting. Lyra exhaled shakily. "We made it." "Not yet," Senka said. "We still have to dock. And hope the rumors are true," Mira added. "Hope the terraforming module is real." Tarek snorted. "Hope the station doesn't fall apart the moment we touch it." Jalen leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Lyra, look." She followed his gaze. A faint light flickered in one of the station's windows. Not the cold, steady glow of emergency power. A moving light. A shape. A silhouette. Someone, or something, was inside. The silent station. Docking was a nightmare. The Sparrow's thrusters were barely responsive, and Echo 7's rotation was uneven, wobbling like a drunk giant. Lyra matched the spin as best she could, teeth gritted, sweat dripping down her neck. Almost. A metallic clang reverberated through the hull as the docking clamps engaged. "Hard seal achieved," Jalen said, sounding surprised. Lyra slumped back. "Thank every dead satellite in the sky." Senka unstrapped herself. "Team, suit up. We go in together." They moved through the airlock in silence, tension thick enough to taste. The inner hatch opened with a reluctant hiss, revealing a dark corridor lit only by the flicker of failing emergency strips. The air smelled stale. Metallic. Wrong. Tarek swept his flashlight across the walls. "This place is a tomb." "Then who lit that window?" Mira whispered. No one answered. They advanced slowly, boots clanging on the grated floor. The station creaked around them, metal groaning under the strain of orbital decay. Lyra's helmet display flickered with intermittent readings. "Life support is offline. Temperature stable but dropping. Radiation levels manageable. Power grid is fractured," Jalen added. "But something's drawing current." Senka nodded. "The terraforming module? Maybe. Or..." A sound cut him off. A soft scrape. Metal on metal. Close. Too close. The team froze. Lyra's pulse hammered in her ears. She swung her light toward the sound. A shadow darted across the corridor. Human-shaped, but wrong. Twisted. Fast. Mira gasped. "What the hell was that?" Tarek raised his tool-turned weapon. "We're not alone." Senka's voice was steady, but her eyes were sharp. "Stay tight. Move forward." They followed the corridor to a junction where the walls were scorched, as if something had burned through them. The scorch marks were uneven, like claw marks. Lyra swallowed. This station wasn't abandoned. "No," Senka said quietly. "It was overrun." The first encounter. They reached the central hub, a wide circular chamber with shattered consoles and floating debris. A cracked viewport revealed Earth below, a swirling mosaic of clouds and fire trails. And in the center of the room, hunched over a gutted power conduit, was a figure. Humanoid. Emaciated. Its limbs were too long. The skin pale and stretched. Its eyes, when it turned, glowed faintly with reflected starlight. It hissed. Mira screamed. The creature lunged. Tarek fired his improvised arc tool, electricity crackling. The bolt hit the creature square in the chest. It convulsed, shrieking, then scrambled backward with unnatural speed, disappearing into a ventilation shaft. Silence fell. Heavy. Suffocating. Jalen exhaled shakily. What was that? Senka knelt by the scorched conduit the creature had been working on. It was repairing the power grid. Lyra stared. Repairing? Yes. Senka touched the wires. It was restoring power, not sabotaging it. Mira shuddered. Why would it do that? Tarek wiped sweat from his brow. Maybe it lives here. Maybe it needs the station to survive. Jalen shook his head. Or maybe it's protecting something. Senka stood. We continue. The terraforming module should be in the research wing. Lyra hesitated. And the creature? We avoid it if possible, Senka said. But if it attacks again, we defend ourselves. They moved on, but the shadows moved with them. The research wing. The research wing was colder. Frost clung to the walls. The lights were dead. Their flashlights cut narrow tunnels through the darkness. Lyra's breath fogged inside her helmet. Temperatures dropping fast. Power grid must be severed here, Jalen said. Tarek checked his scanner. I'm picking up faint energy signatures ahead. Could be the module? They rounded a corner and stopped. The terraforming module chamber was sealed by a massive blast door. A door that had been ripped open. Not cut. Not blown. Ripped. Metal curled outward like torn paper. Mira whispered, "Oh no!" Inside, the chamber was a ruin. Consoles smashed. Cables torn. The module itself, a cylindrical device the size of a shuttle engine, was cracked open, its internal components exposed. But it was still humming. Still alive. Barely. Senka approached it reverently. It's damaged, but functional. If we can extract the core. A sound echoed behind them. A soft, wet breathing. Lyra turned slowly. The creature was back. But not alone. 3 more emerged from the shadows. Their eyes glowed. Their limbs twitched. Their mouths opened in silent, hungry anticipation. Jalen whispered, "They're surrounding us." Tarek raised his arc tool. "We can take them." "No," Senka said sharply. "Look at them." They weren't attacking. They were waiting, watching, guarding. Myra's voice trembled. "They're protecting the module." Senka nodded slowly. "They're not feral. They're intelligent." Lyra's stomach twisted. Then what happened to the original crew? One of the creatures stepped forward. Its jaw opened, and it spoke. A single word. Broken. Distorted. But unmistakable. Help. The word that shouldn't exist. The creatures' voices were wrong. Not just distorted. Impossible. Their vocal cords weren't shaped for human speech anymore. The word, help, came out like metal scraping against bone. A sound that vibrated in Lyra's teeth. Senka stepped forward slowly, palms raised. "You understand us?" The lead creature tilted its head. Its eyes, milky, reflective, blinked asynchronously. When it spoke again, the word fractured into 3 overlapping tones. "Help, core, dying." Jalen whispered, "They're talking about the terraforming module." The creature nodded, an eerily human gesture. Lyra's breath caught. "They're protecting it because they need it to survive." Senka's voice was soft. "Or because it needs them." The creature hissed, not in threat but in pain. Its limbs trembled. Frost formed on its skin. Mira whispered, "They're freezing." Tarek checked his scanner. "Temperature in this wing is dropping fast. If the module fails completely, the station loses all thermal regulation." Senka turned to the team. "We need the core. Earth needs it. But if we remove it, we kill them," Lyra finished. The creature stepped closer, moving with a strange, floating grace. It extended a hand, long fingers, translucent skin stretched over bone and nanite filaments. Help us. Lyra felt something twist in her chest. What do you want us to do? The creature pointed at the cracked module. Fix the fractured core. The terraforming module's interior was a labyrinth of shattered conduits, leaking coolant, and flickering nanite reservoirs. The core itself, a crystalline cylinder, was cracked along its length, glowing faintly with unstable energy. Senka knelt beside it. If we stabilize the fracture, we can extract the core without killing the station. Tarek frowned. But we don't have the tools for a full repair. We don't need a full repair, Senka said. Just enough to keep the nanite swarm alive. Mira swallowed. And if we fail? Senka didn't answer. Lyra stepped forward. Show us what to do. The lead creature approached the module. Its fingers elongated, splitting into delicate tendrils that interfaced with the exposed circuitry. The nanites in its skin glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the module's failing heartbeat. It looked at Lyra. Watch! Then it began to work. Its movements were precise, almost surgical. It wove its tendrils into the cracked core, stabilizing microfractures with living nanite threads. The other creatures joined in, forming a network of glowing filaments. Jalen whispered, They're part of the system. Senka nodded. They've integrated with the module. Symbiosis. Lyra felt a chill. If we take the core, we tear them apart. The lead creature turned its head toward her. No. Take us. The choice. The words hung in the cold air. Take us. Senka stared. You want to come with us? The creature nodded. Core needs us. I need core. Tarek rubbed his temples. We can't bring them aboard the Sparrow. It's not built for whatever they are. Mira shook her head. If they're connected to the core, removing them might kill them and destabilize the module. Jalen looked at Lyra. What do we do? Lyra felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The creatures weren't monsters. They were survivors, victims, and the only reason the module still functioned at all. She stepped toward the lead creature. If we take you with us, can you keep the core stable during re-entry? The creature blinked slowly. Yes. Senka exhaled. Then we bring them. Tarek muttered. This is insane. Everything about this mission is insane, Lyra said. But it's our only chance. Senka nodded. Begin extraction. Extraction. The creatures worked alongside the engineers, their tendrils weaving through the module's internals, guiding the team's hands. The core pulsed brighter as stabilizing nanites flowed into it. Tarek disconnected the final anchor. Core is free. The module dimmed, then went dark. The creatures shuddered, their bodies flickering with unstable energy. Mira gasped. They're linked, hard linked. We need to move now. Senka lifted the core with both hands. It was warm, too warm. Back to the Sparrow. Go! They ran. The creatures followed, moving in eerie silence, their limbs contorting to navigate the narrow corridors. The station groaned around them, metal warping as thermal regulation failed. Jalen glanced back. The station's orbit is decaying faster. We need to launch immediately. Lyra's heart pounded. Then let's move. The station wakes. As they neared the docking bay, the lights flickered. Then the station spoke. A voice, broken, glitching, layered with static, echoed through the corridors. Unauthorized, core, removal, structural, integrity, compromised. Tarek froze. The station AI is still active? Senka cursed. It must have rebooted when the module went offline. The voice grew louder. Containment, protocol, initiated. Bulkheads slammed shut behind them. Mira screamed. It's trying to trap us. Lyra sprinted ahead. Keep moving. The creatures hissed in distress. One collapsed, its limbs spasming as nanites flickered across its skin. The lead creature lifted it effortlessly, carrying it like a child. Go! It rasped. They reached the docking bay. The sparrow waited, scarred, trembling, but alive. Inside, Senka shouted. They piled in. The creatures squeezed into the cargo hold, curling around the core like living circuitry. Lyra jumped into the cockpit. Jalen, strap in. He slid into the co-pilot seat. Engines primed. Thrusters ready. The station AI screamed through the speakers. Containment breach. Lockdown engaged. The docking clamps snapped shut. They were trapped. The last launch. Lyra slammed the manual override. Come on, come on. The clamps groaned but held. Jalen gritted his teeth. We need more power. From the cargo hold, the creatures began to hum. A low, resonant vibration. The core pulsed. Energy surged through the sparrow systems. Tarek shouted. Power level spiking. This is impossible. Use it. Senka yelled. Lyra hit the thrusters. The clamps tore free. The sparrow blasted out of the docking bay, spinning wildly before stabilizing. Behind them, Echo 7 shuddered. The station's ring collapsed inward, fragments spiraling into the void. Mira whispered, It's dying. Senka closed her eyes. It was dying long before we arrived. Lyra focused on the debris gap ahead. Hold on. This is going to be rough. The descent corridor. The debris storm was worse on the way down. Much worse. Shattered panels, twisted beams, and molten fragments streaked past the sparrow. The hull rang like a bell with every near miss. Jalen shouted, Adjusting vector, 3 degrees port. Already on it. A chunk of satellite hull slammed into the starboard wing. The sparrow lurched. Tarek screamed, We lost stabilizer B. Mira clung to her seat. We're spinning. The creatures in the cargo hold began to hum again, louder this time. Their bodies glowed, tendrils weaving into the core. Energy flowed into the sparrow systems. Stabilizers flickered back online. Jalen stared. They're flying with us. Lyra grinned despite the terror. Then let's give them something to fly. She angled the sparrow into the narrowing gap. The debris corridor closed behind them like a pair of jaws. Firefall. Atmospheric entry hit like a hammer. Flames engulfed the sparrow. The hull screamed. The cabin shook violently. Mira cried out as sparks flew from a console. We're overheating. Tarek shouted, core temperature rising. If it breaches. The lead creature pressed its hand against the core. Its body convulsed. Nanites flowed from its skin into the fracture. The core stabilized. But the creature collapsed motionless. Lyra's throat tightened. We're almost through. The sparrow punched through the firestorm, emerging into a sky choked with smoke and falling embers. Below them, the earth burned. But there were patches, small, faint, where the air looked clearer. Hope. Impact. The sparrow crash-landed in a barren plain of fused glass and twisted metal. The impact threw everyone forward. Consoles shattered. The hull buckled. Silence followed. Then coughing. Groans. Lyra unstrapped herself, wincing. Everyone alive? One by one, voices answered. Except one. The lead creature lay curled around the core, its body dim, nanites flickering weakly. Senka knelt beside it. It's dying. The creature lifted its head. Core, safe. Lyra felt tears sting her eyes. We couldn't have done it without you. The creature reached out, touching her hand with trembling fingers. Live. Then its body dissolved into a cascade of inert nanites, scattering like dust. Mira sobbed. Tarek bowed his head. Jalen whispered, What now? Senka stood slowly, lifting the core. Now, we rebuild. Lyra looked at the sky. The debris storm still raged, but for the first time in decades, she saw a patch of blue. Small, fragile, real. We start here, she said, and we make the sky ours again. This is the end of the sci-fi story, The Broken Orbit. Leave a like if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe for more sci-fi stories. Thanks for listening.